I'm having a time trying to get a good picture with my software. I just wanted to share. Oh, this is what I look like today. This is I've got some inflammation going on right here because of the yeast. I mean, because of the allergies that I'm suffering from. My weight is 132 pounds. Waistline is 28 inches. And Dr. Joseph Mercola says that for somebody with I'm trying to go this way. It's for somebody with my height, 5'7", and I have small bones. It should be about 27 inches would be ideal. But your waist measurement says a lot about your health. So 35 inches, or I think greater than 35 inches, is dangerous for a woman. It usually indicates there's some sort of inflammation going on, and you really want to address inflammation because that can lead to some serious health problems down the road. My inflammation is caused by allergies, and Jesus does want me to address those right now. I just want to report something really exciting. I made a video about my allergies, my last video, and it and I said I only have like 30 or 40 foods that I can eat. And that's not a lot, really, when you consider how many foods there are to eat out there. Anyways, this is the good news. It looks like Jesus has made a cure for that problem. Claritin Liqui-Gels. I came upon this while I was trying to research, because I was taking Allegra and reacting to the lactose monohydrate in it because I have a strong milk allergy. Lactose is a chemical word for milk. So I said, I'm going to have to stop this. So I thought, no wonder I'm not getting over my allergies. I'm taking this Allegra, and then the Zyrtec had lactose monohydrate in it too. I found out that's only true of the generic form of the generic that I was taking of Zyrtec and Allegra had lactose monohydrate. So basically, I was ingesting an allergen with my antihistamine. How crazy is that, right? Whoever designed these generic antihistamine drugs need to study allergy a little bit, because milk allergy is pretty common, so they shouldn't put lactose monohydrate in as a filler. But the brand name of these drugs do not. Okay, so I said, great, I got to find something without fillers in them that I'm going to react to, and it seemed like all of the tablet forms had ingredients in them that would either be a problem with my salicylate intolerance or my yeast allergy, not my yeast allergy, or my milk allergy. They're not dumb enough to put stuff that's bad for yeast allergy in these antihistamines, but apparently are dumb enough to put stuff that's bad for milk allergy or salicylate intolerance. So I thought, let's try the Liqui-Gels. So I went online and I noticed I read all the ingredient lists. I liked the inactive ingredients for this, and because anyways, folks, there's a little bit of flab going on here. This is a lot of this fat here is coming about because of inflammation. This is inflammation here, allergic inflammation. Inflammation makes you put on weight if you have inflammation going on in your body. So, and you want the inflammation to calm down, not just for looks reasons. It's not good for your health to be inflamed. It puts your body into a bad mode. It's not good for the body. So, anyways, this has caprylic acid in it as first on the list in the inactive ingredients, and they list the ingredients in order of how much is in it. So like the first thing on the list that's the highest amount in there. So there's quite a bit of caprylic glycerides in here. So I did some research on caprylic glycerides, and basically that's a form of caprylic acid. And Brent told me brain to brain that Jesus made this just for me. So that he said that caprylic acid is one of the best things you can take to get rid of a yeast infection, especially apparently in the glyceride formula like this. He says it goes deep into the cells and removes leftover yeast protein from the cells. Now, he told me that Jesus didn't want to put me on this when he put me on Seroquel because first Jesus needed to get rid of my yeast infection. In other words, it's a waste of time to remove yeast protein if you have an infection. So, because the yeast is going to keep multiplying and putting more yeast protein in there. So you got to get rid of the infection first. So, and another problem is if you're working on getting rid of the infection and you're taking caprylic acid, you will be killing yeast because caprylic acid kills yeast. It breaks, they're not sure how it works, though I believe it's by breaking down the yeast protein in the cell. It just breaks it down so that the cell can't live and basically kills the yeast. If you have a yeast infection with the yeast bacterium version of the yeast, which is what I had, killing the yeast only makes it worse because the yeast eats its own poop or its own toxins. So if the yeast explodes and the toxins go into the surrounding cells, then any leftover yeast will just eat up that yeast toxin like fertilizer and multiply. And you'll end up with a worse infection than before you killed the yeast. That's why I could never get rid of it until it. Seroquel works by not killing the yeast, by flushing it and the yeast toxins out of your cells. But apparently Seroquel does not remove all of the yeast leftover proteins. In other words, if the yeast has been in your body a while, it's been, you know how if you live in a house, you're going to throw your garbage around, and people are going to, and your hairs are going to be all over the floor because you've lived there. Well, if the yeast is living in your body, it's leaving its hairs in your body like its proteins. So even though you might kill the yeast and he's dead and he's gone, his leftovers are still there. And the leftovers can be a problem for a person who's allergenic. Like me, I developed an allergy to the yeast toxin. So all those leftovers were causing me to go into allergy response mode. So my body was still, even though the yeast infection was cured, my yeast allergy was not cured. In fact, the cure to my yeast infection, which was to release all of the yeast and its toxins from all the cells and get it into my blood and out through the kidney and out, made my allergies worse because it heightened my exposure to yeast and its toxins. So Jesus waited till the yeast infection was gone. Unfortunately, my yeast allergies and all my other allergies had to get worse as part of the cure. Now it appears Jesus is working. Well, he told me to start going for a walk about 2 years ago. And he was putting stuff in the air to help me with my yeast allergies. And now he is looks like he's adding this to the regimen. Brent told me brain to brain that I'm under divine orders to take this every day, along with my Seroquel, to help me deal with yeast allergy and all my allergies. This is apparently the best thing I can take right now because it's going to remove the leftover yeast protein to which I'm very allergic out of my cells and get it out of my body. And then that's going to lower my allergic load. And when my allergic load goes down, my body's going to heal itself. And my allergies will kind of relax and they'll become less severe. I may not totally lose them. I don't know if Jesus wants to give me a 100% cure, but it's obviously his will for me to not have such horrible allergies or he wouldn't have ordered me to go out and walk. So I just want to praise Jesus. So if you have the same yeast infection that I have, which means you've tried everything, you've gone to traditional medicine, you've taken nystatin and diflucan and all this stuff, the amphotericin is another thing I've been on, and none of it works, and your yeast infection always comes back, and you can't ever get rid of it, you probably need to be on Seroquel, which is the best medication out there for yeast. But Seroquel could make your yeast allergies worse for the reasons I've already mentioned. So, in that case, take this. But wait till your yeast infection is gone. You don't want to overwhelm your body with too much yeast protein all at once. You could go into like an allergic shock. So that's probably why Jesus waited till now to put me on that. Take that. That'll remove the yeast proteins from your cells. And once your yeast allergy gets better, then all your other allergies will get better because the load will go down. that your body has to deal with, the allergic load, and your body will relax and heal itself. Anyways, that is what I think is going to happen. Now, I could be wrong, and if so, I'll make a corrected video later, but this seems to be what I need to be on right now. If that doesn't work, and if I've got incorrect brain-to-brain information, it isn't going to hurt for me to be on an antihistamine because my allergies are crazy. But I needed to find one that I wasn't going to react to. I was reacting to generic Allegra because it had an inactive ingredient called lactose monohydrate. Lactose monohydrate is milk monohydrate, and I have milk allergy. So basically, my allergy medication had something I was allergic to in it, milk. Also, if it has dextrose monohydrate as a filler, dextrose means corn. So if you have corn allergy, don't take anything with dextrose monohydrate as a filler. Go to my, I'm excited because I believe that was an accurate brain to brain, and I'm kind of sick of having all these allergies. They've been making me pretty miserable the past month. And I think that could very well be a cure. The pollen count is also very high outside, so that's not helping, but the fact that I have leftover yeast protein in my cells is not helping either, and that's my worst allergy, so that needs to go. So I'm willing to. Brent said it may take a month for my body to remove most of the yeast protein, and he said you may have some days where you actually feel like when you take this, you feel like you're worse and not better. He said it's kind of like the yeast die-off reaction. The body's got to work on flushing out all the yeast protein, which means some of it's going to get in your blood while the body's trying to get rid of it. And because that's what's going to happen with the caprylic acid ingredient in here. He said, but you got to get that yeast protein out of your body. That's why you're so allergic right now. That protein is killing you. So just wanted to share the good news. I believe I found the cure to my severe allergies. I don't think Jesus may not give me 100% cure to my allergies, but it sure would be nice to be able to eat like a more normal person, you know? It's like I can only eat about 20, 30, or 40 foods right now. That's not lots. Which means forget eating out of a restaurant, you know. And everything I cook has to be simple. I don't add any spices to any of my foods. I'm allergic. All the spices are terrible. They all have high salicylate content. The only spice I can use is salt. And even the salt, I'm going to the trouble to make, I'm going to grind it myself so it doesn't have any fillers. So I'm having to eat very simply, almost like a caveman, you know, just very simply, no spices. I don't even fry my vegetables. I react to 90% of the oils out there. So it's just, they all have high salicylate content. And I can't have milk. Most of the grains, I believe, are out, though. Gluten-free oat seems to be agreeing with me. I tried that. And I can tolerate golden, delicious organic apples, but not Granny Smith, because that Granny Smith is high in salicylate. Go to my website if you have severe yeast allergies, milk allergies, salicylate intolerance, or have a yeast infection that will never go away, because I have some helpful information there that might help you find a way forward for you with your health. And I'm just sharing what I've learned in dealing with these problems in my own body